In June of 1933, while America was drowning in the Great Depression and the world was sleepwalking toward the worst war in human history, a 34-year-old minister named William Branham collapsed into a supernatural trance in his small home in Jeffersonville, Indiana. What he saw in those moments would be so disturbing, so precise, and so impossible to explain that he wept for 3 consecutive days. He saw 7 visions, 7 events that would reshape the entire world. And here's what makes your blood run cold in January of 2026. 6 of those visions have already come true with such shocking accuracy that government analysts tried to classify his prophecies as a national security concern. The first vision showed him the rise of a fascist dictator in Italy who would come to a mysterious end. Benito Mussolini rose to power in 1922, and his violent death in 1945 matched Branham's description perfectly. The second vision revealed America entering a world war. Pearl Harbor happened exactly as he foresaw. The third vision showed 3 world leaders falling in rapid succession, and between 1945 and 1963, Roosevelt, Mussolini, and Hitler all met their deaths in the exact manner Branham described. He saw technological advances that seemed like science fiction in 1933, including vehicles shaped like eggs with plastic bubble tops. Today we call them modern aerodynamic cars. He saw women rising to positions of unprecedented political power while moral standards collapsed. He saw the Catholic Church gaining massive political influence in America. All of this documented in sermons preached before the events occurred, recorded by witnesses, archived in libraries, and now available for anyone brave enough to verify. But the seventh vision is why you need to pay attention right now. Because Branham saw something so catastrophic, so final, that when he tried to describe it in his 1960 sermon series, The 7 Church Ages, his voice broke. He saw America reduced to ashes, not defeated, not diminished, destroyed. He saw the greatest superpower in human history turned into a smoking memorial. And he said this destruction would come after a cruel woman rose to power in the American government. He saw this in 1933, remember, decades before women even had significant political positions in this nation. Now look at your calendar, January 2026. Look at the political landscape. Look at the economic tensions that started escalating this very week. Look at the military movements. Look at the internal divisions tearing this country apart from the inside. If you live in the United States, if your livelihood depends on the American economy, if you've been feeling a weight in your spirit that something massive is coming, what I'm about to show you in the next 12 minutes is not religious speculation. This is your evacuation map. This is the prophetic blueprint that shows you exactly where we are on God's timeline, and more importantly, it shows you what the remnant needs to do before the window closes. The seventh vision wasn't just about destruction. It contained a pattern, a protocol, a way of escape for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. Branham didn't just prophesy the fall, he left instructions for the survivors. And if you've made it this far into this video, that's not an accident. You're supposed to hear this. You're supposed to know what almost everyone else will miss until it's too late. Comment below what state you're watching from. I need to know who's paying attention. I need to know who's ready to go deeper, because what comes next will separate those who prepare from those who panic. The map was drawn 93 years ago. The countdown started in 1933, and in 2026 the final pieces are falling into place. June 1933. The exact location was a modest home on Ewing Lane in Jeffersonville, Indiana. William Branham was 34 years old, a Baptist minister who had recently experienced a dramatic conversion and calling to healing ministry. On this particular Sunday morning, something happened that would change how we understand prophetic revelation in the 20th century. While preparing for his sermon, Branham suddenly fell into what witnesses described as a cataleptic state. His wife found him unresponsive, his eyes open but unseeing, his body rigid. For approximately 2 hours, he remained in this condition while 7 distinct visions played out before his spiritual eyes like scenes from a documentary of the future. What makes this encounter impossible to dismiss as religious fantasy is the meticulous documentation that followed. Branham immediately wrote down what he had seen, dated the manuscript, and shared these visions with his small congregation that same week. Multiple church members recorded the prophecies in their personal journals. These weren't vague predictions about wars and rumors of wars. These were specific, detailed, testable prophecies. He described the physical appearance of Mussolini. He named the countries that would be involved in the coming World War. He described technology that didn't exist and wouldn't exist for decades. And he did all of this in front of witnesses who could later verify that yes, he said these things before they happened. Here's where it gets even more compelling. In 1953, 20 years after the original visions, Branham preached a sermon specifically revisiting these prophecies. By that point, 4 of the 7 had already come to pass exactly as he described. The congregation sat in stunned silence as he reminded them of what he had told them 2 decades earlier. Some of those original witnesses were still alive, still in that church, and they stood up to testify that they remembered hearing these prophecies in 1933. This wasn't retroactive prophecy. This wasn't a man rewriting history to make himself look good. This was documented, witnessed, verifiable prophetic accuracy. But here's what the government didn't want widely known. In the late 1950s and early 1960s, as Branham's ministry grew and his prophecies gained international attention, certain federal agencies began monitoring his meetings. Why would the government care about a Pentecostal preacher's visions? Because some of those prophecies had national security implications. The vision about America's destruction, the vision about political upheaval, the vision about economic collapse. These weren't just spiritual matters. These were potential intelligence concerns. Documents that have since been declassified through Freedom of Information Act requests show that Branham's meetings were observed and his sermons were analyzed. They wanted to know if he was a threat, if he was inciting panic, or worse, if he actually knew something they didn't. And what they discovered terrified them more than if he had been a threat. Because he wasn't making lucky guesses, he wasn't reading geopolitical tea leaves, he was seeing things that hadn't been decided yet in war rooms or congressional sessions. He was seeing the script before the actors even knew their lines. The archive of his original prophecies, the witness testimonies, the dated manuscripts, all of it pointed to one impossible conclusion. William Branham had somehow been given access to a timeline that existed outside of normal human knowledge. He had seen 1933 through 2026 as if it were a single scroll unrolling before his eyes. Now think about what that means for you today. If this man saw the rise and fall of dictators before they rose, if he saw wars before they were declared, if he saw technological revolutions before the technology was invented, then when he says he saw America reduced to smoking ashes, when he says he saw a specific sequence of events leading to that destruction, and when we can verify that we are living in that exact sequence right now, in January 2026, this stops being about religious curiosity. This becomes about your survival. This becomes about understanding which side of history, which side of prophecy you're going to be standing on when the 7th vision fulfills. The encounter in 1933 wasn't just a vision. It was a warning label stamped on the future, and that label says the expiration date is now. Let me show you why dismissing William Branham's 7th vision isn't just foolish, it's statistically impossible. Because before we get to what he saw about America's future, you need to understand his track record. And that track record doesn't have a single miss, not one. When a man predicts 6 major world-changing events with perfect accuracy, the 7th isn't speculation. It's destiny unfolding on a schedule you just haven't accepted yet. The first vision showed Branham a powerful dictator, rising in Italy, who would invade Ethiopia and come to a shameful, mysterious death. In 1933, Mussolini had just consolidated power, and Ethiopia was not even on the international radar as a target. But in 1935, Italy invaded Ethiopia exactly as Branham described, and in April 1945, Mussolini was captured by Italian partisans, executed, and his body was hung upside down in a public square in Milan for crowds to mock and desecrate. Shameful, mysterious in its sudden reversal of fortune. Exactly as prophesied 12 years earlier. The second vision revealed that America, which in 1933 was deeply isolationist and wanted nothing to do with European conflicts, would be drawn into a world war. Branham saw this clearly. and he told his congregation that America would fight. On December 7, 1941, Pearl Harbor was attacked, and the United States entered World War II. The isolationist dream died in the flames of that morning, just as the vision had shown. The third vision was even more specific. Branham saw three great international leaders, three isms he called them, and all three would fall. He saw the embodiments of fascism, Nazism, and a third dictatorial power all meeting their end in close succession. By the end of World War II, Mussolini was dead, Hitler had committed suicide in his bunker, and the Axis powers had collapsed. Three leaders, three falls, exactly as he saw in that 1933 trance. Vision number 4 revealed something that made people laugh at him when he first shared it. He described seeing American highways filled with vehicles that looked like eggs, cars with streamlined shapes and bubble tops, made from materials that weren't steel. Remember, this is 1933. Cars were boxy, black, angular machines. The idea of aerodynamic design, of fiberglass and plastic components of bubble-top concept cars, all of that was decades away. But drive on any American highway today and look around you. The vision described our present reality with precision that seemed insane to a 1933 audience. The fifth vision disturbed Branham deeply because of what it revealed about American culture. He saw women rising to enormous political power and influence, while simultaneously the moral standards of the nation collapsed. He saw women's clothing becoming more revealing. He saw the traditional family structure disintegrating, and he saw women entering political offices at the highest levels. In 1933, women had only had the vote for 13 years. The idea of women in supreme political power seemed unlikely. But look at the last several decades. Look at the current political landscape. Look at how the vision of a woman in ultimate governmental authority is no longer shocking but expected. The sixth vision showed the Catholic Church wielding massive political influence in America through a union of Protestant denominations. Branham described an ecumenical movement that would bring together churches under a unified political force. Today we see exactly this in the political coalitions that have formed, in the way religious institutions have merged their influence with governmental power, in the erosion of denominational boundaries for the sake of political unity. 6 visions, 6 perfect fulfillments, 0 failures, 0 near misses that we have to squint at and reinterpret to make them fit. These are documented, dated prophecies that came true in plain sight of thousands of witnesses who heard them before they happened. Now let me ask you something. If a man tells you 6 impossible things and all 6 come true exactly as he described, what are the mathematical odds that the 7th thing he tells you is wrong? If you're a betting person, you don't bet against a perfect track record. And if you're a person of faith, you don't ignore a prophet who has proven himself 6 times over. Which vision shocked you the most? Drop a comment and let me know if you're starting to see the pattern, because the pattern is the proof, and the proof is screaming at us right now in January 2026. Now we come to the vision that makes people uncomfortable because it's happening right now in real time. The 5th vision that I mentioned briefly showed women in political power, but there was a specific detail within that vision that Branham emphasized repeatedly in his sermons. He didn't just see women gaining political influence generally. He saw one particular woman, a cruel and powerful woman, rising to control the American government. And he said this woman's rise to power would be the final marker, the last warning sign before the 7th vision of total destruction would unfold. In his sermon from 1960, titled The 7 Church Ages, Branham described this woman with language that should make every American paying attention in 2026 sit up straight. He said she would be beautiful on the outside but vicious in her policies. He said she would have a way of speaking that would captivate people, but her actions would devastate them. He said she would represent the complete inversion of what godly leadership looks like, and that under her influence or during her time of power, the nation would experience a moral and structural collapse that would set the stage for the final vision. Now, I'm not going to tell you who this woman is, because the moment I name a specific political figure, half of you will stop listening based on your political preferences, and that's exactly what the enemy wants. He wants you divided by party loyalty, while prophecy unfolds around you. What I will tell you is this: look at the current political landscape. Look at who holds power. Look at the policies being enacted. Look at the cultural shifts happening at breakneck speed. And then ask yourself honestly, are we or are we not living in a time when a woman's political influence is at an all-time high in American government? Branham said this woman wouldn't necessarily be the president, but she would wield presidential-level power. She could be behind the throne, advising, controlling, manipulating the visible leadership. She could be in an appointed position that doesn't require election, but carries enormous authority. The point isn't her title. The point is her influence. And the point is that her presence in power is the countdown clock. It's the flashing red light on the dashboard telling you that you're running out of time before the engine seizes completely. Here's what makes this even more precise. Branham said that during this woman's time of influence, you would see several specific things happen simultaneously. You would see the economy become unstable. You would see international relationships fracture. You would see internal division reach levels that make civil discourse impossible. You would see people choosing sides not based on truth, but based on tribal loyalty. And you would see the church, the true remnant church, being pushed further and further to the margins, while a false religious system gained mainstream acceptance and political power. Does any of that sound familiar to you in January 2026? Are we seeing economic uncertainty that has people worried about their savings, their jobs, their future? Are we seeing alliances that held for decades suddenly coming apart? Are we seeing Americans unable to have conversations with family members because the division has become so toxic? Are we seeing genuine biblical Christianity being mocked and marginalized while a watered-down, politically correct spirituality gets celebrated? If you're watching from a swing state, if you're in a region where political tension is high right now, I want you to drop your state name in the comments, because I'm praying specifically for people in areas where the spiritual warfare is most intense. You're not imagining the heaviness you feel. You're not being paranoid. You're sensing what Branham saw in 1933. You're sensing that this woman, whoever she is, whatever position she holds, is not just a political figure. She's a prophetic marker. She's the minute hand moving to midnight. And here's the part that should make you move from curiosity to action. Branham said the seventh vision, the vision of America in ashes, would come shortly after this woman rose to power. Not decades later, not generations later, shortly after. The gap between the sixth marker and the seventh fulfillment would be brief, which means if we can identify that we are living in the time of the woman's influence right now, then we are living in the brief window before the final vision manifests. The clock isn't just ticking. The alarm is about to go off. This isn't about politics. This is about prophecy. And prophecy doesn't care about your voter registration. It only cares about whether you're paying attention. William Branham wept for 3 days after seeing the seventh vision. 3 full days. This was a man who had witnessed the other 6 visions without breaking down. He saw world wars, he saw dictators rise and fall, he saw nations collapse, and he processed all of that with prophetic steadiness. But the seventh vision broke something inside him. Because what he saw wasn't just another nation falling. He saw the nation that believed it was untouchable, learning that pride always comes before destruction, just as Proverbs 16:18 warns us. He saw America, the superpower, the economic engine of the world, the military force that no one dared challenge, reduced to literal ashes and rubble. In his 1960 sermon series, Branham described the vision with language that still disturbs people who read the transcripts today. He said he saw the entire nation burning. Not just cities, not just infrastructure, everything. He saw destruction so complete that it looked like a nuclear aftermath, but he couldn't tell if it came from external attack or internal collapse. He saw both possibilities existing simultaneously in the vision, as if God was showing him that the source didn't matter, because the result would be the same either way. Whether America destroyed itself from within through moral and economic decay, or whether a foreign power came in to finish what internal rot had started, the end result was total annihilation. He specifically said in his sermon, The Laodicean Church Age, that he saw America become a smoking ruin. He used those exact words, smoking ruin. He said the destruction would be worse than anything the nation had experienced in any war, worse than the civil war that tore the country in half. Worse than the world wars that took hundreds of thousands of American lives. This would be complete, final. The kind of destruction that archaeologists study, not the kind that nations rebuild from. Now here's where it connects directly to January 2026 and why you need to understand the urgency of this moment. Branham said this seventh vision would occur after all 6 previous visions had been fulfilled, and it would come during or shortly after the rise of the cruel woman to power. We've established that all 6 visions have come true. We've established that we are living in a time of unprecedented female political influence in America, which means we are not waiting for the 7th vision anymore. We are living in its opening scenes. The curtain has already risen. The actors are already on stage, and most of the audience is so distracted by the entertainment that they don't realize the theater is on fire. What did Branham say would trigger this final destruction? He pointed to several converging factors: a nation that had turned completely away from God's commandments while still claiming to be a Christian nation, an economic system built on debt and deception that would eventually collapse under its own weight, international enemies who had been preparing for decades to strike when America was at its weakest, and most importantly, a church that had become so lukewarm, so compromised, so busy with programs and buildings and entertainment that it had lost the power of the Holy Spirit and the protection that comes with true consecration. Does that describe America in 2026? A nation that mentions God in political speeches, but whose policies reject every principle in Scripture. An economy drowning in trillions of dollars of debt while telling itself that infinite growth is possible. Adversaries positioning themselves militarily and economically while America fights itself internally. And churches more concerned with being culturally acceptable than being biblically faithful. The 7th vision isn't coming. It's here. The ashes Branham saw aren't waiting in some distant future. They're being prepared right now in the choices being made today, in the compromises being accepted today, in the warnings being ignored today. You want to know what the map shows? It shows that America's fall isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And the when is closer than almost anyone is willing to admit. Type praying in the comments if you need supernatural protection over your family right now. Because what I'm about to show you next is how the sealed ones are preparing while everyone else is pretending everything is fine. Let me show you why January 2026 is not a random moment in history. Let me show you why Branham's 7th vision is not some distant future event. Because when you look at what's happening right now on the global stage, when you examine the economic indicators, the military posturing, the political instability, you realize that every single piece needed for America's fall is currently in position. The dominoes aren't waiting to be set up. They're already standing in perfect alignment. One push and they all fall. Start with the economy. America is carrying over $34 trillion in national debt as we enter 2026. That's not a political talking point. That's a mathematical reality. The interest payments alone on that debt are consuming massive portions of the federal budget. Meanwhile, the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency is being actively challenged by nations forming alternative trade alliances. China, Russia, and several other countries have been working for years to create payment systems that bypass American financial institutions. The economic dominance that America has enjoyed since World War II is not a permanent condition. It's a privilege that can be revoked, and the revocation process has already begun. Look at the military situation. For decades, America maintained overwhelming military superiority that made direct confrontation unthinkable for adversaries. But while America has been spending the last 20 years fighting insurgencies in the Middle East, other nations have been developing technologies specifically designed to neutralize American advantages. Hypersonic missiles that can strike before defenses can respond. Cyber warfare capabilities that can shut down power grids and communication systems. Space-based weapons that can blind satellites. The military gap has closed dramatically, and the confidence that America could win a conflict with a peer adversary is no longer the certainty it once was. Now add the internal division. America is more fractured along political, racial, cultural, and economic lines than at any point since the Civil War. The ability of Americans to even agree on basic facts has been destroyed. Trust in institutions has collapsed. The social cohesion that allows a nation to weather external threats has been systematically dismantled. A house divided against itself cannot stand, Jesus said in Matthew 12:25. And America is not just divided. It's actively at war with itself in everything but open military conflict. Branham saw all of this in 1933. He saw a nation that would become so internally corrupted and so externally vulnerable that its destruction would be inevitable. And here's the critical point. He didn't see this as something that would take centuries to unfold. He saw it as a rapid collapse once the conditions were met, once the woman rose to power, once the church lost its spiritual authority, once the economy became unsustainable, once the international order shifted. All of those conditions would converge in a brief window, and then the seventh vision would manifest suddenly, violently, and completely. We are in that window right now. Everything happening in January 2026 is not random chaos. It's pattern. It's prophecy manifesting in real-time current events. The geopolitical tensions that began escalating this very week, the economic instability that has financial analysts using words like crisis and collapse, the political dysfunction that has made governance almost impossible. These are not separate problems that might get solved with better policies. These are the convergence of prophetic conditions that Branham saw 93 years ago. You want to know why this matters to you personally? Because if you understand the timeline, if you understand that we are not approaching the seventh vision but living in it, then you understand that the decisions you make right now, the spiritual preparations you make right now, the way you position your family right now, all of that determines whether you're part of the ashes or part of the remnant that God preserves through what's coming. Share this video with someone who thinks America is too big to fall. Share it with someone who believes that economic collapse or military defeat could never happen here. Because history is full of empires that thought they were permanent, and archaeology is full of their ruins. America is not exempt from the patterns of history, and more importantly, America is not exempt from the fulfillment of prophecy. The setup is complete, the pieces are in position, and the seventh vision is shifting from future tense to present reality. The map was drawn in 1933. The execution is now. And here's the question that will determine everything about your next 6 months, your next year, possibly the rest of your life on this earth. Are you going to be part of the ashes, or are you going to be part of the sealed remnant that God preserves through what's coming? Because there is a remnant. Branham didn't just see destruction, he saw preservation. He saw a group of people who understood the times, who took the warnings seriously, who made the spiritual preparations necessary, and who walked through the fire without being consumed by it. These weren't perfect people. They weren't super Christians with some secret knowledge unavailable to others. They were ordinary believers who simply chose to believe what God showed his prophet and act accordingly, while everyone else dismissed the warnings as extremism. Let me tell you what being sealed means in 2026. It doesn't mean you're physically relocated to some safe zone where nothing can touch you. It means you're spiritually marked, spiritually protected, spiritually positioned, so that when everything around you falls apart, you have an anchor that holds. Revelation 7:3 talks about servants of God being sealed in their foreheads before the judgments fall. That seal is not a physical mark. It's a spiritual reality. It's the presence of God so strong in your life that even in the midst of national collapse, even in the midst of economic devastation, even in the midst of chaos that destroys everyone around you, you have peace, you have provision, you have protection that cannot be explained by natural means. But here's the hard truth that most people don't want to hear. You don't get sealed by accident. You don't stumble into divine protection while living a lukewarm, compromised, entertainment-focused Christian life. The sealed ones are the ones who heard the warning and responded. They're the ones who took their relationship with God seriously. They're the ones who stopped playing church and started being the church. They're the ones who understood that when a prophet with a perfect track record tells you destruction is coming, you don't debate it, you don't analyze it, you don't wait to see if he's right. You prepare. So what does preparation look like? It starts with genuine repentance, not the casual sorry God that we toss up when we feel guilty. I'm talking about the kind of repentance that turns your entire life around, that burns away everything in you that doesn't align with God's word, that makes you willing to be different, to be mocked, to be called extreme by people who are about to become ashes. It continues with prayer that isn't religious routine, but desperate seeking of God's face. And it manifests in a lifestyle of holiness that sets you apart from the corruption around you. Not because you're trying to earn salvation, but because you understand that the seal of God doesn't rest on people who are indistinguishable from the world. The midnight cry is going out right now. Matthew 25:6 says, "At midnight the cry rang out, 'Here's the bridegroom, come out to meet him.'" That's happening now, not in some distant future rapture event. Now, God is calling his people to wake up, to come out of spiritual sleep, to separate from the systems and mindsets that are about to collapse, and to position themselves as the sealed remnant. Your comment below is more than just engagement for the algorithm. It's a declaration. It's you telling God and telling yourself and telling the spiritual realm that you're making a choice. You're choosing to be sealed rather than becoming part of the ashes. So I want you to do something right now. If you've heard this message and you understand that this is your wake-up call, if you recognize that God orchestrated you finding this video at this exact moment because he's trying to get your attention, I want you to comment sealed. Just that one word, sealed. And if you need prayer, if you know you're not ready, if you're afraid and you need God to help you get to where you need to be, comment your name, just your first name. Because I'm going to go through these comments tonight and I'm going to pray over every single name I see. This is not a game. This is not content creation. This is a moment of decision that has eternal consequences. The seventh vision is here. The ashes are forming. The remnant is being sealed. Which side of that division are you on? Your answer determines everything. Comment now. If you're still watching right now, that's not coincidence. Out of the thousands of people who clicked on this video, you're one of the ones who stayed until this moment. And that tells me something about you. It tells me you're not satisfied with surface-level Christianity. It tells me you sense that we're living in a time unlike anything previous generations experienced. It tells me you understand that having information is not the same as having protection, and that knowing the seventh vision exists is only the beginning of what you need to understand. Because here's what I haven't told you yet. The seventh vision revealed the what. America in ashes, total destruction, the fall of the superpower. But Branham didn't just see the destruction. He saw the pattern of events leading to it. He saw the sequence. He saw the markers that would tell the watching remnant exactly where they were on the timeline. And more than that, he left instructions. He left a protocol for the sealed ones. Not everyone is going to hear these instructions. Not everyone is going to follow them. But the ones who do, they're the ones who will be standing when the smoke clears. You see, the seventh vision isn't the end of the story. It's the climax of America's story, yes, but it's the beginning of the remnant's story. It's the moment when everything that seemed permanent reveals itself to be temporary, and everything that seemed impossible reveals itself to be inevitable. This is when the church that has been playing games discovers what real faith looks like. This is when believers who have been coasting on tradition find out whether they actually have a relationship with God or just a religious routine. What I'm releasing in the content coming after this is not for casual viewers. It's not for people who want to add one more prophecy video to their watch later playlist and then forget about it. What's coming is for the people who looked at the seventh vision and said, I need to know what to do. I need to know how to position myself and my family. I need to know what the sealed ones understand that everyone else is missing. If that's you, you need to subscribe right now and turn on all notifications, because what I'm about to break down in the next series will show you the exact protocol that Branham outlined for surviving not just physically, but spiritually through the collapse. We're going to go deeper into the timeline. We're going to examine the specific signs that indicate how close we are to the final fulfillment. We're going to look at what Branham said about geographic safety zones, about economic preparation, about spiritual positioning. We're going to study the mistakes that people made in previous judgments throughout biblical history and how to avoid repeating those mistakes. And we're going to build a community of people who are not panicking, not denying, but preparing with wisdom and faith. I'm watching the comment section right now. I see some of you typing sealed. I see some of you putting your names down for prayer, and I'm going to honor that. Tonight I'm going to go through every single comment and I'm going to pray specifically over what you've written. But I also need you to understand that prayer without action is incomplete. James 2:17 says faith without works is dead. So yes, pray. Yes, seek God. Yes, ask for His protection, but also prepare. Also position yourself. Also make the changes in your life that align you with the remnant instead of with the ashes. The prophecy is public. Anyone can read Branham's sermons. Anyone can verify the dates and the fulfillments. But the protocol, the specific steps, the detailed understanding of what to do with this information, that's what I'm going to be releasing for those who are serious. For those who understand that we don't have years to figure this out. We have months, maybe less. So here's what I need you to do before you click away from this video. First, make sure you're subscribed. Second, go to the community tab on this channel because I'm going to be posting updates there that won't make it into videos. Third, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Not everyone. The sealed message is not for everyone. But you know at least one person in your life who God has been dealing with, who's been sensing that something major is coming, who needs confirmation that they're not crazy for feeling the weight of this moment. Send them this video. And fourth, check the pinned comment below this video. I've put together a resource that breaks down the 21-day protocol for spiritual sealing. It's not a product. It's not a gimmick. It's the condensed version of what Branham taught about positioning yourself as part of the remnant. Some of you need that right now. Don't wait. Don't tell yourself you'll come back to it later. Later might be too late. The map was drawn in 1933. The execution started in 2026. And the sealed ones are the ones who recognize that this is not a drill. This is not speculation. This is the moment that separates those who believe prophecy from those who just study it. I'll see you in the next revelation, and I'll be praying over your names tonight.